I'm a big believer in the geological truth that pressure makes diamonds. So I'm out here 2 days before the assignment's due in the Kings Park walkway with my own personal notes, a few books from my library, trying to find the answer to these questions. Dominant flora and fauna found on the west coast forest ecosystems, the impact of introduced species on native ecosystems in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and lastly conservation, recreation and development issues and conflicts in New Zealand. So let's go, see what we can do. It's so true that there's nothing better than a walk in the bush by yourself to calm a stressed out mind. And I'm actually surrounded by heaps of native flora at the moment that I could point out at any time, but there's one up here that I want to focus on. It's kawakawa. So kawakawa is found along the coasts and warmer lowland forests. And we're getting pretty high up now, so this might be the last kawakawa we see. But just pointing out this hole here, the brown sloper caterpillar eats holes in these leaves with the ones with the most nutritious value. And if you were to eat this or make tea out of it, which is what the Māori do, it relieves like toothache and it has medicinal purposes and often has like quite a peppery taste. So next on the hit list is kiki. Kings Park's a really good example for kiki, and it's really dominant over the west coast. So kiki are really good climbers. They're an epiphyte, which means they attach themselves onto the trunks of an existing tree. And in some cases you can't see the tree itself, just all the kiki. And feeling pretty lucky to find this. This is some of the fruit that the kiki have. It's a hard green fruit, which normally appears in late summer. I guess this is still growing. But the fruit are really tasty and were important food for the Māori.
Fluctuation of the pupil.
Look at it! So nice! So much stuff. I can't go past a wheki without talking about it, because I think a wheki is a really good name for a dog, but this is a rough tree fern. Again, lowland forest throughout New Zealand. It's a small tree, only goes up to about 6 meters high, and the upper parts of the trunks are covered with these broken off brown stems that you can see. That's often how you distinguish a wheki, from other ferns. So weka have disappeared from the North Island, or the forest at least, in the North Island. And they weigh about 850 grams. They got a really high pitch, like kuit, kind of cool, which is quite eerie at night. A pretty modest life. They walk around, they eat and they sleep. They eat earthworms, moths, caterpillars, grubs, spiders, weta, stick insects. They don't seem to be like too freaked out like humans. Boo! This guy's been following me for a little while. It's a fantail, or a waka waka, and you can see by its tail how it got its name. So this is supplejack. I've just come across a bit which is like pretty thick. Really sucks to walk through, but I mean that's not all it does. It can be also eaten, and the vines were used by early Māori and by European settlers for many things. Like tying down roofs of houses, making pots for crayfish, baskets. You can eat the tips of them, which you'd be pretty lucky to find because most of them are broken off. But if you do find one, they taste a bit like asparagus. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Oh Jesus. Cool thing about being out in the bush at this time, even though it's a little bit scary, is you can hear all the birds at dusk. I shouldn't have come out here on my own. That was silly. I'm lost and it's getting dark and I'm a little bit freaked out. Yeah. Holy shit. I just heard a pig. Pretty freaky. What is it? What is it? So we're getting out of the bush now. We might find some sign of the introduced species that I want to talk about.
What is that?
These lines here above the track are power lines, and they run electricity to the city where these introduced species live. So if we follow these power lines, we'll find them.
Dum-de-doo-dee-doo-rooney.
I'm outside one of their houses. I'll see if I can get a closer look. That was a close one. I just got away. There's a whole car of them right here. Pose as one of them and see how far I can get.
It's had wet bums on it for the last 3 days. So.
I love buying and eating things. I think it's working. So I'm going to tackle this topic in a pretty broad way. I'm going to accredit the conservation, recreation and development issues in New Zealand to New Zealand's introduced species. Of all the introduced species in New Zealand, humans by far have the largest impact. We create conservation, recreation and development issues throughout New Zealand and the wider world, and also have a crippling effect on the environment. The reason why humans were put on the earth in the first place is because but we've been given the earth, a paradise, precious little jewel, and we're fucking it up. We're doing all kinds of weird things, like damming rivers and destroying forests, and at the same time shrinking frozen continents. Yeah, cute. Life in the big city is becoming much more insular and self-absorbed, and as this happens, it's easy for us to ignore these facts. Comedians such as Joe Rogan and philosophers like Alan Watts have described humanity as a microscopic organism growing on the face of the earth like a cancer. I'm a strong believer that there is no point in feeling guilty about this. I find that guilt just makes me want to pack my bags and run off like a happy hobbit and live a much more modest lifestyle out in the wild where I'm not faced with these problems. A much more productive approach would be to take responsibility. This means taking responsibility for our state of consciousness. It's pretty easy to see that by looking back on our history, there is a deep-seated dysfunction in humans. A main theory in Theodore Roszak's ecopsychology is that our environment, Mother Earth, affects our state of mind, and in turn, our state of mind affects the world. This idea is reflected in the minds of many of the world's thinkers, such as Eckhart Tolle, who says that only a diseased and dysfunctional state of consciousness produces a diseased and dysfunctional world. Eckhart Tolle expands on this connection between the human psyche and the natural environment by saying that the environment becomes more polluted as we continue to pollute our minds with absurd patterns of thought. Krishnamurti points out that these patterns of thought are what underline our chief interests, which are to find security, to become somebody important, or to have a good time with as little thought as possible, which is totally fine. It's something that I love to do, and I do most days. And it's possible that humanity will continue doing it until the Earth can't really handle it anymore, which is in maybe another 500 years or so, and it will destroy us. But the Earth will be fine. We'll be gone, but the Earth will restore itself. It has heaps of resources, and it will take a while for it to recover. The exciting question is, can the planet wait long enough while humanity sorts itself out? Thank you for watching. And here's my damn resources!